It's game over for the housing market. The housing market is starting to bubble and is starting to pop all over the place. Housing markets like Texas and Florida are experiencing major price reductions. But what's even more fascinating is you're starting to see it in California. The housing market is very localized, it's very centric to certain areas. So while you may have a depreciating market in states like Texas, Florida, and a lot of the southern and midwestern states, California tends to always be booming. Major cities like San Diego and Los Angeles, San Francisco are almost recession proof. But now what you're starting to see is the cities on the outskirts of these major metropolitan areas starting to crack. For example, here in Riverside County, where we're shooting this video, you're starting to see house prices sit on the market for 40 to 60 days, something that was completely unheard of anywhere between 2019 through the beginnings of 2024. These houses are sitting so long, they're starting to see major price reductions of 5 to 10%. Now, I know what you're thinking. I should like and subscribe to this video right away. And we're trying to grow our followers on this channel, so please make sure you're liking and subscribing as we start to put out more content like this. And so as you're looking at these price reductions, it's still not causing this buyer's frenzy that we all anticipated. And the reason why is affordability is just about gone. I'm going to give you some examples that you're going to be able to witness in live time how the interest rates have completely obliterated affordability and is starting to cause this epidemic in the housing sector. Let's take a $600,000 home right now in Riverside County. At a rate of 6.25 on an FHA loan, that's about a $4,600 payment. A person making $100,000 a year couldn't even qualify for that. That same person who makes $100,000 a year right now, assuming no other debts, would have to shop at about $500,000. A $500,000 mortgage right now in today's environment gives you a payment of about $3,900 to $4,000. That's insane. Most people can't afford that, and yet they're still closing on mortgages for this. Now, what's going to happen when rates drop? Morgan Stanley just shocked the financial sector when they dropped an article saying there was an anticipation for 7 rate cuts in 2026. What are some leading indicators that allows them to be so aggressive in their prediction? Well, you have 2 Fed chairs, specifically Jerome Powell, leaving office in 2026. That's huge because the executive branch, President Trump, is going to be able to appoint whoever he sees fit and very likely who's going to carry out his orders. Now, there's going to be some arguments in the comments that the executive branch should not dictate what the Fed's decisions are. But if Trump is going to appoint whoever he wants, for example, Chris Waller or Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, then you're going to see his agenda really come to fruition as his picks for the next Fed chair and Fed positions really execute on this game plan of lowering interest rates. So what do interest rates need to come down to in order to be able to really make a difference? Let's go back to that $600,000 price point. If rates come down just 2% and that 6.25 rate drops to 4.25, 4.25, that monthly payment's going to drop by almost $700, bringing total principal, taxes, and insurance down to $4,000. Now a person who's making $100,000 a year can actually qualify for that house, giving them $100,000 more in purchasing power just because rates went down a little bit. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Most people have been anticipating a 3% mortgage. The craze that happened during the COVID between 2020 and 2021 really left an appetite for low interest rates because mortgage payments were affordable. Even though house prices were so elevated, people could actually qualify and afford these houses at the elevated price points. You see, just like an auto dealership, most people don't care about what the actual cost of the house is. What they're really anticipating is how much they're going to spend every month. That's why when you walk into a Ford dealership to buy a Ford Bronco, the first thing they're going to ask you is, how much do you want to pay every month? Then they can reverse engineer how much the sales price is going to be for you. So now let's look at what would happen on that same $600,000 house if rates were 3%. That house would actually drop another $500 a month, bringing your total payment to $3,500. Now somebody making $90,000 a year can qualify for that exact same house. This is actually crazy because we're seeing that about 1.5% drop in interest rate is going to give the incoming buyer about $100,000 new purchasing power. But what I want to know is this enough to really spark a buyer's frenzy? You see, what people aren't talking about enough is how much debt people are starting to carry. People are over leveraged on their credit cards. People took out car loans. Now the average car loan is sitting about $700 a month, almost up to $1,000 a month. And people are really over leveraged on their consumer debt, and they're having to start to pay back their student loans. So I'm not sure that this quick rate cut is going to be something that's going to cause buyers to come and break into the market. People who own houses right now are sitting on a ton of equity, but they can't access it unless they sell their house. You see, if they're at a 2 or 3% mortgage and they have $300,000 in equity, typically they would call a guy like myself and do a cash out refinance, access $150,000, pay off all their debt, and they have a new comfortable monthly payment. Now, in order for them to be able to access that $300,000 in equity, they're having to sell their house. And so it's why I predict that in 2026, when interest rates start to drop, you're going to see a flood of inventory. And I'm not sure that this new flood of inventory is going to meet exactly the new ability of buyers to qualify. I really believe that inventory is going to exceed buyers, and you're going to have a weird window of opportunity with between now and the end of 2026 where it's going to be a buyer's market, and buyers are going to have the leverage in the negotiations to be able to get seller concessions, price reductions, and really take advantage of a market where sellers are desperate to get rid of their house, take advantage of their equity positions, and pay off all of their debt that has been climbing over these past 3 years of high interest rates. This market is starting to crack. And if the Fed doesn't lower rates soon, we're going to see a major collision in the housing sector. Now, depending on how fast they lower rates, we can try to bring equilibrium back to where sellers and buyers are at an equal position. But right now, Redfin just announced that there are 500,000 more sellers than there are buyers. That is what's causing this buyer's market and the 2025 housing market to start to collapse. So let me know in the comments what you think rates need to be at in order for buyers to start to equate how many new sellers are hitting the market. And if you're interested in getting in touch with us, click the link in our bio, schedule a one-on-one call with me personally, or fill out the form so that we can get your information and reach out to you personally. Thanks for taking the time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe in order for me to be able to keep putting out these longer videos for you.